Okay, so today we're going to be solving questions 22 and 23 from the SAT number 9. And I like this question because it illustrates a couple of cool concepts um, as far as deciding between the answer choices, deciding between text, and I would put it at like a medium to hard difficulty. So let's hop in. Let's see what we can do. So we start with question 22. Question 22 says, in McKinnon's view, Ceres differs from other objects in the asteroid belt in which significant way? And there's two things that we need to note, we need to register about this question. The first thing is whatever text we choose, whatever answer choice we choose, it has to be one, from McKinnon's point of view, and two, it has to be about obviously how Ceres differs from other objects in the asteroid belt and in which significant way. Good. So now the next step would be to go through answer choices for 23, A, B, C, and D. And basically we're going to look for the answer choice that we think could possibly answer our question. And what I mean by that is we need an answer choice that is A, from McKinnon's view, and B, tells us about a reason why Ceres is different from other objects in the asteroid belt. First thing I like to do is sort of scan for the first mention of McKinnon in the text, which comes in lines 11. And the reason I like to do this is because the text is organized on the SAT in a very linear way, meaning that if McKinnon is mentioned at line 11, chances are that whatever his point of view is going to come after that text and not before, which shows us that probably 2 and 5 and 8 and 9 are probably not our correct text, although there's a little bit of an exception. We'll look at it in a second. First thing we do is we go to 2 to 5. So 2 to 5 says the dwarf planet Ceres and other icy chunks may have been born in the same realm as Pluto, but traveled all the way, etc., etc. Before we even go into thinking about what this answer choice is, we should just notice that it's not from McKinnon's point of view. It's not mentioned until later. It's not inside him, so it's going to be our answer choices. We can toss it out. The next one is lines 8 through 9, and 8 through 9 says Ceres is by far the largest object in the asteroid belt. Now, this comes before the first mention of McKinnon, but we see a little bit of back referencing because the text goes on to basically tell us that this is also a point of view that he shares, right? He not only thinks that Ceres is the largest object, he also thinks some other things. So for this reason, we can keep this text. Next one we go to is 18 through 20, which says that there's that a dip in Ceres light spectrum may be a sign of ammonium-rich clay at the surface. And basically this tells us that that Ceres might have a different sort of element, or at least it has ammonium-rich clay in its surface. And this might be something that makes it different, so we should keep it. 20 through 23 comes right after and basically says that this material, the ammonium-rich clay, has never been found in other fragments of asteroids that have fallen on Earth. So this sort of elaborates on that text and gives us a reason sort of why it's different, why that why Ceres might differ from other objects in the asteroid belt. So we should keep this option as well. At this point, we sort of still have three texts, and we can go through them and sort of try to make a mental note of what each of these texts talks about. So we know, for example, that 8 through 9 mentions that Ceres is the largest object in the asteroid belt, whereas answer choices C and D sort of highlight the fact that it has this ammonium-rich clay. So either one of those could potentially be our answer for 22. We should go back to that text sort of expecting that. So let's go through the answers. So answer choice A for 22 says the surface temperature of Ceres is lower than the temperatures of the other objects. We should eliminate this option because none of the text that we read through from 23 or any other part of the passage mentions surface temperature, so we can toss it. Next one says that the dimensions of Ceres have varied more over the time than the dimensions of other objects have. Now, if we don't read this closely, we might be tempted to choose this answer because answer choices B from 23, lines 8 to 9, talk about how the fact that Ceres is larger than any object in the asteroid belt, which might refer to the dimensions of Ceres. But answer choice B for 22 doesn't just say the dimensions are different, it says that they have varied more over time than the dimensions of other objects have. So for this reason, we can eliminate B. C says the surface composition of Ceres is dissimilar to the composition of the other objects. And this seems to sort of mention answer choices C and D from question 23, because both of those talk about the fact that there's this ammonium-rich clay on the surface of Ceres, which doesn't seem to be present on other fragments of asteroids that have fallen to Earth. So we should keep this option as well. The next answer choice, D, says that the light reflected by Ceres is more intense than the light reflected by the other objects. Now, this mentions the light reflected from Ceres, which is also mentioned in lines 18 through 20 for answer choice C, right, in question 23. However, it doesn't have the same meaning because in lines 18 through 20, we're told that there's a dip in Ceres light spectrum, right? Whereas D is telling us that the light reflected by Ceres is more intense. So a dip in the light spectrum is not the same thing as being more intense, so we can eliminate D. So at this point, we should really know that C is our only answer for question 23. The surface composition of Ceres is dissimilar to the composition of the other objects. And this will only reference C and D, right? We've already eliminated A because it didn't mention McKinnon. We can also eliminate 8 through 9 because that only talks about the size and not the surface composition. So at this point, we're stuck between lines 18 through 20 and 20 to 23. And I actually think this is the hardest point of the question, right? Because we need to ask ourselves, how are we supposed to distinguish between 18 through 20 and 20 to 23? And I think the best line of thought here is to note that lines 18 through 20 only tell us that the dip in Ceres light spectrum might be a sign of ammonium-rich clay at the surface, right? It only tells us the fact that there is this ammonium-rich clay, whereas lines 20 to 23 tell us that this material has never been found in other asteroid fragments that have fallen to Earth. So only answer choice D, lines 20 to 23, tell us why the surface of composition of Ceres is dissimilar to the composition of other objects. So we should choose that option as well. Eliminate C, choose D, and then our answer choices are C and D.